Welcome back in the house, podcast listeners. It's been a while since we've been back here, but I have a very, very special guest and near and dear to my heart, Michèle. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Likewise, near and dear to my heart as well. And I am so delighted to be here with you today.
You've been very supportive of the transitions in my life, and we'll get to that a bit later. Today, guys, we have Michèle Soregaroli on our podcast, and she has been in my life for more than 2.5 years now. And actually, I looked up our contract, and we met on January 30th, 2018.
Oh my gosh.
So it's 2 days shy of 3 years. But I'm going to give everybody, our listeners, a background of what you do, and I want to, and then you introduced your company. So, Michèle, you are a leading differentiation coach with expertise in value and proposition. And in 2013, you were recipient of the International Coach Federation Coach Impact Award and profiled twice in the Distinctive Woman magazine. I know you're a mom of two, a son and a daughter. And more importantly to me, you've become such a great mentor. So lucky to have worked with you over the past couple years. And you've really helped me find a greater purpose in my life and help me grow beyond the current success that I was in my career. So I'm really thankful for having met you and for you to see the transitions that everything that I've added to my career. I have to thank you for that.
You're being awfully generous. Thank you, Jenny. It's been just such a delight knowing you, working with you, and seeing that transformation over the years. So thank you. It's been a privilege.
Of course, yeah. Why don't we tell everyone what Transformation Catalyst is all about and how you help entrepreneurs and professionals?
Okay. Well, thank you. So Transformation Catalyst is a coaching and consulting company. It's just myself as a professional coach and my husband who does coaching and consulting. We've worked together since 2004. And I've been coaching since that time. So we specialize specifically on supporting entrepreneurs to differentiate and realize better results from their unique value proposition, usually in highly commoditized and competitive marketplaces. So we tend to work with professional services primarily. And Brian actually works with emerging leaders as well. He works with teams and young people who are coming into new responsibilities as leaders. So that's his passion too.
Is there a specific sector or industry that I guess you tend to work with?
Yeah, so we tend to focus on those who are what I like to say selling advice as opposed to selling products. So primarily any services, but we tend to play in the financial services, legal, and accounting areas for the most part, but we've worked with engineers, we've worked with consultants of all sorts. So, yeah.
What kind of coaching programs do you offer within your company?
Thank you. So the flagship program that we've really had great success with is our business differentiation program, which really supports entrepreneurs to identify their unique differentiators and to really help them understand not only what makes them unique and different, but also how to turn that into value that creates a stronger value proposition and puts them in a better position in the market to attract the type of clients and the type of business that brings them not only profits that are better and higher margins and better clients, but just a lot more fun.
Do you find that they're in a specific climate in their business or a number of years in their business before they start seeking a coach like yourself?
Typically, because the nature of specifically my work, the nature of my work is focused on those who already have some experience in the industry. So they've got some wisdom to tap into. it's more difficult to differentiate strongly when you're just starting out because you don't have a sense of the industry, what your offer looks like at its just at its basic levels. Don't have enough to lean into. So typically we're looking for at least 5 years of experience, but more commonly I work with those who've been in business for 15, 20, sometimes 10 years. Yeah. Yeah. But they still have a good runway. That's what I like to say. They're still in growth mode.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting because I think in 2018, so I started the business in 2003. Yeah. And for myself, I came to you through a referral, actually, and somebody else in the business. And he mentioned that I had to meet you. I was looking to find something to grow in my business, but still stay in the business, but somehow make more meaningful impact into the industry. So when we met at Cafe Giovanni, and you're a complete stranger. I broke down, and I was obviously going through some personal changes in my life, and also wanted to figure out where I was in this business. Where I want to go with it, how I can make more impact. And you just felt, you made me feel extremely comfortable to be able to talk to you. I would assume that when there's some sort of discovery process or some sort of, you're kind of laying everything out at the first interview or maybe even before they even decide to join you. Can you talk us through that?
Oh, yeah. The biggest thing, thank you for that. The biggest thing for me when I'm getting to know someone is I just want to see you. I want to hear you and I want to see you and I want to understand you. And I feel as a coach, if we can come to that place quickly where I can honor who you are in all of you, right? Then I can help you more effectively. Mm-hmm. And we can really go to powerful places which is where change happens and where that transformation that you seek happens. Mm-hmm. So the biggest part of my discovery process is to help me see past the surface and get in touch with you at a deeper level. Mm-hmm. And if I can connect with you that way, if I feel like I can connect with you that way, then I feel very confident that we can go to some really wonderful places in terms of what your opportunities are and your real value out in the marketplace and just discovering that uniqueness, which takes a great deal of courage. Mm-hmm. So in that open discovery conversation, the more vulnerable and transparent and open it is, of course, the more joy I experience because I really honor you and mm-hmm. those who are putting themselves in a position of growth. And it's sometimes hard and scary. So
it is, absolutely.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing when I meet anyone. It's really just, I want to hear you. I want to see you. I want to know you mm-hmm. at that level. That's the first start.
I felt like I was pretty much vomiting all this information to you, and now it's your turn to take that and I guess break it down into something that is a step-by-step process so that I can actually manage all that, the emotions that are coming as well. Absolutely. Yeah. It's change and just being an entrepreneur. I have so much respect for the entrepreneur. It is such an emotionally charged journey of change and challenge and courage. There's just so much in it. And I think anyone who embarks on that journey, I have the deepest respect for them. And we all have different ways that our fears and our doubts manifest, right? And it's just a matter of allowing those to show up so that we can work through them, be mm-hmm. aware of them, and empower ourselves with the tools and resources that are going to support us to move forward, right? Yeah. It's not to say that they don't exist. They exist for everybody. So I don't have any false ideas about what an entrepreneur looks like. Every single one of us has fears and doubts and moments where we think the world is crashing down or we can't do it or something like that. Do you find that there's one specific pattern or something that really stands out that your clients want to really improve on after completing your program?
Oh. Well, the biggest, I think, from my perspective, when people are coming to me, my hope is that we can help you see your value, your uniqueness, rather, your uniqueness in a valuable way, because most of us don't. Right? We don't see what's unique. And when we're operating from our strengths and we're operating from a place where we are truly exceptional, we tend to undervalue that, neglect it, or discount it completely. Right? And just don't even see it as a possibility of something that's valuable. If I can help an entrepreneur tap into that and see, first acknowledge them and be aware of them, and then see how they are valuable and how they can turn into contribution and impact as well as more meaning. That's the biggest thing when entrepreneurs are coming to me at that point in their career. They have usually achieved a level of mastery or expertise where they're feeling relatively confident about their offer. And for some reason, they still don't feel like they're being honored by the market and or their clients for the unique value that they bring. And there's a disconnect there. So if I can help them bridge that gap, it's brilliant on the other side.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I would probably say I was also, you introduced so many options for me in terms of managing my schedule, exploring other ways to deliver my message. And I know that there is a lot of fear of entering into, stepping into those different paths because it's something that I've never explored before. But I have the tools ready to go.
Yeah.
It's still have to overcome those.
Yeah, absolutely. It is.
So that goes into kind of my next question of differentiating yourself from a crowded market, because often most of our listeners are entrepreneurs and real estate agents who we're working amongst 14 to 19,000 agents alone in the Vancouver market. So how do we get to know ourselves and kind of put that out there to the rest of the buyers and the sellers that we're trying to reach?
Such a great question. So first of all, I was a real estate agent back in my mid-20s for 5 or 6 years on the residential side. So I grew up, my father was a real estate agent. So I grew up with real estate. So I know your world
Yeah.
relatively well. A little bit of experience in my younger years, and also just growing up in that environment. So this is a really interesting question because I think when we're talking about differentiating, especially in your industry, it's really important to distinguish the difference between marketing and what your differentiators are. So marketing is really about communicating your differentiators and creating visibility and building credibility. So that's really what marketing's about. It's not actually a differentiating activity. It's about communicating it and creating that awareness, right? So when we think about differentiating specifically, the most important thing to know is that the way you differentiate in services is based on your unique approach, right? It's not really anything that you're doing that's spectacularly different. It's the unique nuances to your approach, how you design your client or customer experience, what your process is for taking them through a listing process, if you will, taking them through a sales process, how you would market their property and why you would market it that way, what it is that is driving the style that you bring to your offer, right? So if your customers align with your style and they say, yeah, you know what, I really like that. I like the way you approach it. I like the way you negotiate. I like the way you have designed this experience for me. You're so organized, or you're really a go-getter, or you're a hardcore negotiator, or whatever it is, that supports you as their broker to be successful. Whatever supports you to be successful, it's important for you to lean into that. After that, it's important for you to communicate that and to set up your engagement with your client for success, right? So that you're aligned and that you can, so that they're not questioning what you're doing, but they're honoring and respecting what you're doing because they understand your approach. That's what differentiates us.
Right.
It's more about our unique style, not necessarily that we're marketing differently or doing a ton of things to create visibility and build credibility out in the marketplace. That's copyable, right? What can't be copied is your unique nuances in your offer. And what we want to do is try to bring those to the surface, make them more obvious.
Right. And so to deliver that, now, I get this question asked quite a bit, actually. Do you start with just helping anybody and anyone who says, yes, I'll work with you, and then you figure out kind of your nuances? Or are you going to kind of know what those skills are already and what your certain characteristics that no other person, no other agent will have? And then you market yourself, and what if you are ridiculed by it, or what if there's not a large enough market for it?
So those are all great questions. The most important thing when you are in a relationship business, which you are, right? Although real estate is transaction oriented, you're still building a relationship, when the hope for all of you, I would imagine, is repeat business and referrals, right? So the first thing you want to do is make sure that you set up the expectations so that they understand what is going to make the experience in working with you successful, right? What are you measuring as success? What do they measure as success? How will you know that this engagement with you has been successful? And create that agreement, if you will. If you're aligned there, you get to talk about, okay, so assuming those things are aligned, then this is kind of my approach, and this is what I'm thinking, and this is the way I'd like to, set this up. And this is how I would see moving through this deal with you, if you will. And so again, it's really about setting expectations. What you have to be aware of as a realtor is, are you setting expectations that you can deliver on, that you can be consistent with? Are you making promises that you can excel at and really show up as strong, right? In a place of mastery. What we tend to do in an effort to get more business, we tend to position ourselves and make promises. I see it all the time. We make promises that we think our customer or client wants. We're maybe not so good at it, but it's important to them. So suddenly it's important to us. And they are measuring us based on that thing that's important to them. And we're average at best. So it's really important to agree on the things that you are measuring as successful, right? And the obvious one, of course, is that you do a good deal, like you find them the right house or you sell for a good price. Those are the obvious ones. But they're not always the things that people are measuring when you go under the surface and you really hear them and you listen to what really matters. So that's the opportunity, right? Is to, of course, you're going to do your very best to get them the best price. Of course, you're going to try to list and find them the best home, right? That's kind of your job. And they expect that. So these are not particularly valuable. They're just expectations.
Right.
So then it's really about how you propose to do that matters. And that's what they're going to judge you on. It's not whether you do it, because it's relative. They will never know whether they've gotten the best price or whether they found the perfect home or whether, they'll never know that. Those are all relative things and they're intangible. But they will know is whether or not the experience has been aligned with their expectations and whether it felt good, right? Do they feel like they have been honored in their work with you?
What kind of questions can the agent ask to confirm all this information? Besides, I guess, because once the transaction is done, it could be for another few years until they do another transaction.
Right. Yeah. So is your question at the front end of the transaction or after it's done?
After it's done.
After it's done. Okay, brilliant. That's such a great question because often after it's done, there's a little bit of follow up, and then in my experience, the realtor will typically give some kind of gift and meet them at their new home or support all that, right? To really celebrate the transaction, right? And then they're gone. And maybe there's some, email follow ups or newsletters, but very few one-to-one connections. So if it were me, I would probably be likely to follow up a year later and say, these are the things that you thought you were buying, right? Or this is the experience of this transaction you anticipated, right? Is it still true? Right? Do did it happen the way you thought it would happen? If yes, why? If not, why not? And then there's a discussion about how can I help you move into a better future? Right? Not necessarily move a home, but just help them do whatever they need to do to move to a better state if they haven't got exactly what they want. Maybe they need a resource of a contractor or something. So you're in service of their desired state at all times.
At all times.
Right?
So it's
at all times.
Right.
So
There's
you get to follow
awareness.
up in 1 year and 3 years. And yes, you've got your touch points along the way, but just keep going back and saying, this is what you'd hoped for. Are you still experiencing that? Or are you starting to think that there might be something else or something different or something more in the future for you? So you're constantly in touch with that better future that we all seek, right? As opposed to waiting for them to come to that place on their own and hopefully remember you, and hopefully your email arrives on the right day, and hopefully somebody didn't just quickly call them and say, hey, we have a buyer for your property. Would you like to sell?
Are really good at it, actually, for the follow-ups, because you did send me a 6-month catch-up, like follow-up. Hey, Jenny, have you been, initiating any of the projects that we talked about? And then a year later as well. So I really thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, I want to know. And that's part of it. Like as you know, Jenny, I love my clients, and that's really part of my offer. I just love my clients. So I'm so vested in your future and your happiness, and really you're stepping into who you want to become, right? So those follow-ups are very much in service of helping you. Even though we're not working together, I still care. And I'm still curious. Are you moving forward? How's it going? I want to know, right? And it's
those are really, really nice to hear from you. And
thank you.
It's difficult, I would say, in the position I am in terms of the volume that we do, and a really good system needs to be in place of like a follow-up strategy.
Yeah. So one thing, you could do is when you identify what it is, let's call it the better future, right? Because we all transact because we're looking for a better future. So whatever that is for your clients, right? Whatever that better future is, take note of it, write it down. And then you have that in their file somewhere. Most of us have that in some kind of a database, right? You have that in their file somewhere, and you can refer to it every time you touch base with them.
Right.
And say, this was important to you then. Is it still true? Is it manifesting? Or has it changed? And what's your better future now? What does that look like, right?
Yeah. These tips are really, really useful because even during this pandemic where businesses they're still coming out of hard times, and we just really don't know when this is going to end. I call it planning for the unplannable, because we're really guessing week by week how to keep afloat and what kind of changes are going to happen to the businesses. And we're currently we really don't know when business as usual is going to resume.
Right.
And what does business as usual mean now? Like how things have changed. How have you changed in terms of your settings and your programs since COVID?
Yeah, we haven't changed a lot. We have changed. Obviously, we've moved over to a fully virtual or remote offer, if you will, where we had some in-person meetings before. So that's changed, but so has everybody. I would say that for me, things like this, and it might sound kind of weird, but things like this are such a catalyst for change, right? Changes that we may have wanted to implement that we've held back because we weren't pushed off a cliff, right? The pandemic has really pushed a lot of us off the cliff in terms of you've been kind of playing with this idea for a long time, and here we are. You don't have a choice anymore. It's not sometime in the next 3 to 5 years or whenever we have the courage. So for me, I think how have I changed personally as opposed to our offer? Personally, what's changed for me is the awareness of courage and really stepping into it's now. We don't need to wait to be pushed off a cliff. It's just now. And the sooner we do it, the faster we can move forward, the faster we can find our strengths, the faster our confidence grows, rather than sitting in a place of consideration, if you will, or planning or thinking and holding back. So I've noticed that not only in us in terms of sense of urgency and speed and more courage, but also in terms of clients, right?
Right. So how have those conversations shifted with their businesses? Have you seen it? Is that a topic that's discussed, or are they kind of just moving forward as if?
I think that the ones who are being successful through this are the ones who have accepted what is, right? They are not fighting the circumstances. They're not saying, I don't want it to be this way. They're not waiting it out. They have accepted what is, and they are moving forward given current conditions. These are the ones who are most successful. Certainly in my own clients, as well as what we're seeing out in the market. They're not fighting what is, right? Or resisting what is. They've just accepted it. Here is where we're at. What are we dealing with? Let's move forward. And I really absolutely believe that's where resilience comes from, right? It's just that acceptance. Knowing what we can control, knowing what we can't control, accepting what is and moving forward. The greatest challenge for most people is when they fail to accept what is, and they spend too much time in resistance,
Right.
or waiting it out, right? And they're not in action and moving forward. And what that does is it creates more fear. It creates more rumination, right? We ruminate and think, which spirals in the wrong direction, right? And as I've been known to say, the longer your fears hang around in your head, the bigger the monster they become. So in order to keep our fears at bay, we need to be in action, facing them at every given moment so that they don't become a monster that grows in size because we don't address them. Right? The faster we move forward, the faster they dissipate.
Right.
Right.
So how do you anticipate that, the risk that may come with that, full forcing with that change?
When we're in something like a massive change, whether it's a pandemic or any change in your business, the thing that I recommend and I always coach towards is finding your inner strength, right? Because what you have inside of you is much stronger than you can possibly imagine. And we all get through it. Humans are a remarkably resilient race. We just pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and keep going, right? So knowing that about yourself and just accepting that as being true allows you to access it, right? So ways to access it and bring it forward. Lean into your values. What are your values? What do you hold dear? What do you hold as important? That's really a source of your strength. The other thing that helps us with tapping into that is to be in service and be empathetic to what the rest of the world is going through. When we take focus off ourselves and our own trials and tribulations, if you will, we become much more inspired and we want to help. Fortunately, we are, again, wired genetically to want to help. We tend to want to be in service. When we are not in service, it's when we feel like we are at risk and when we're scared, right? Then we go into survival mode. But if you can lean into your values and step out of that and look outward and help others, it actually builds your strength, right? Because you take your focus off your own stuff and you're so busy solving other people's problems, you're actually digging at yourself out of the hole at the same time. And then there's intuition. And I've talked about that before, but really your intuition is your greatest source of wisdom, right? It talks to you every day, all the time. And most of us ignore it or we don't honor it. If you can sort of get to know yourself a little bit and listen to those voices, the intuitive voices, not the I'm freaking out voices. They're different. It's important to know within yourself which voices are talking to you, right? But when you listen to your intuitive voices and listen to what your body is telling you, it's another great source of strength because your body will urge you forward. It just has a way of doing that.
Right.
To ease you into it.
What kind of tips can you give a leader to, to maybe jot this down or somehow view it as be able to strategize using that intuition, using those tools?
So intuition, the way we tap intuition is silent time, right? There are many different ways to access silent time, but your intuition only really is accessible to you in those quiet moments. So you could journal because your voice will show up through your journaling. The interesting thing about journaling is if you're not one who has journaled in the past, just allow yourself to, what I say is write random streams of consciousness. Don't judge. Just allow your whatever's going on in your head to come out on the page. Eventually, after you've written for 20 minutes or so, the surface stuff kind of gets out of the way and then the real good stuff starts to show up. So journaling is really great. Some people use meditation, right? Meditation is really great. Some people use quiet walks, alone, no podcast, no technology, just you and your thoughts, right? Some people access through exercise. Exercise can be really effective if you're in a zone. If you're pushing yourself and you are concentrating on your endurance, if your focus is on exercising, you can't access that next level of yourself. So it's important to know how exercise is serving you. But the most important thing is just quiet time alone. And that will give you access. So there's no secret to it. It's uncomfortable for some, but it's the best way to access your great wisdom and strength.
Is that something that would be part of your offering if one, like myself, for example, didn't really know to ask the right questions to myself? Would that be something that you'd be available to offer?
Oh, absolutely. So again, this is tapping into your inner wisdom is really, there's coaching around that. There's vision work around that. There's understanding purpose, understanding values. And these are all part of your differentiators. So it's all intertwined. And so when the work that we do, it all starts with getting to know yourself. And there are different access points to do that. And just having someone like me probe and question and challenge even just cliche phrases that you might use, because we all have language patterns. The way you use language, the way you talk, I might say, what do you mean exactly? Right? What are you actually trying to say under the surface? Let's go to the next level and take you a little deeper.
We always got off course too, because you came in with an agenda, and I would do my homework. Well, I partially did my homework, and then we would just basically divert,
Yep.
talk about something else. But you managed to keep it tight and on schedule. So it was I missed that program, so I'll have to come back to that.
Well, it's lovely to work with you. I miss you too.
What do we have to look forward to your program this year? Anything new that's coming out? I received an email about the ThreeStep referral program. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. Thank you. So again, what's changed for us in terms of this pandemic? I am, with every passing day, I'm increasingly passionate about differentiation and creating opportunities that, what I say, help your business be referral worthy. And so the ThreeStep referral program is our first step towards having an online program. And the reason I went this way, Jenny, it's interesting because it's something that I've taught these concepts, and it's not really coaching. It doesn't require coaching in order to understand the concepts that help your business be more referable. And so we thought, this is not something where the value is going to be depleted or diminished by putting it in an online format. Mm-hmm. So I thought, why don't we teach these concepts in, I think we have something like 24 videos. It's 2 or 3 hours of content total. Each video is only 10 minutes because you're an entrepreneur, you're super busy. I like to keep them short and sweet, catch the nugget, move on. But what the ThreeStep referral system shows is, first of all, how to make yourself referral worthy at the front end, how to earn referrals and be that individual that's able to receive referrals and be worthy of them. Then there's a couple of other steps. There's enabling referrals, which requires some work in order to make sure that the door is open and people know just that they can refer and how to refer. And then finally, there's acknowledging them. And there's a way to acknowledge such that you can generate more referrals authentically and sincerely, and also help people understand the type of referrals that you want if you're not getting qualified referrals. I feel really passionate about this because my business, as you were referred in, Jenny, so this is brilliant, it has been built almost exclusively on referrals for 15 or 16 years. I don't do any outbound solicitation for business. So everything I do is about being referral worthy, making sure that we enable referrals and help them happen, and then support them and encourage them to happen further, right? Without asking. I'm not one to ask for referrals. I don't like asking for referrals. It's not my thing. So that's what the referral course is all about. I'm really excited about it because I think it's fantastic, and it's an easy little online course that has unbelievable value for
someone can just go onto your website.
Yeah,
and
our website has it, and it's right on the programs page. It's right there, and we have a full guarantee. If it's not something that's working for you, just let us know.
Yeah. And so how does one know whether or not your coaching program is actually suitable for them?
You will know if you feel like you have already achieved a certain level of success, that you know how to get business, and you are already successful, but for some reason you're not feeling like you're being valued the way you want to be valued by your clients and the market. If you feel like you're delivering remarkable value and it's just you're not getting the love, you're not feeling it, you are so ready for working with me because I can help you feel the love, because I get it every day. I just love it. I love to support that feeling. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, if you find yourself spinning your wheels and you're in a place where you're ready for better clients, you're ready for better business results, and you're just feeling like a hamster on a wheel, 1 in a million, and you just haven't been able to distinguish yourself and pull yourself out of the crowd in the way that you want to. If that's the journey you're ready for, then you're ready to work with me.
Right. When they're ready, what is the amount of commitment that's required? I know what my where I had to deliver my homework and any follow up emails that you sent me, I had to reply back. So, and then even our meetings were a couple of hours per 2 weeks, so twice a month. How does that look like for others? Is it the same?
So the first step is our Business Differentiation Blueprint program, which is 6 months long. It's kind of the entry point because it's the starting point for identifying all the opportunity for you going forward. So we always start with the blueprint because it sets the tone for the better future that you're looking for. And I, as you can probably tell, I'm kind of intense. And I'm also really serious. And I just love, when I say serious, I'm really serious about delivering value. Like I don't take that lightly. And I want you to have the opportunity to work on your business with me in an effective way that helps you access that inner wisdom. That does not happen in 10 minutes. So our meetings are long and they're designed that way for a reason. In that 2 hours, we get to go deep, right? So for 2 hours, every couple of weeks, we go deep. We work on you, your mindset, your insights. We work on your value proposition, but we work on you. We work on your business. We work on your future. And by doing that for that 6-month investment of your time and energy, it really is transformation. That's what happens because you come out the other side with a completely different and better understanding of your bigger future and what that looks like for you going forward. That's more inspiring. So that's the starting point.
Yeah. So after the 6-month program, I remember continuing on because I was like, wait, you're not getting rid of me this quickly. I need more.
So, that's one of the reasons I loved working with you. I love working with you, Jenny, because you are so driven and so committed to that bigger future, right? You always are reaching for your best self. So depending on after that first 6 months, some people have kind of had enough of my intensity for a while. And they're like, I got to just catch up with you. And I want to just settle into this new discovery, if you will. So sometimes clients will go off into the sunset and go do what they need to do. Many times they will come back. Sometimes that's in 6 months. Sometimes that's in 3 years, right? Okay. And depending on pace of change and the intensity of my clients, some will continue on right away. And that's the after point is quite customized depending on the outcomes that client is looking for. Because I'm in service of your pace and your better future. And I want to make sure that that's a match. Whatever we do is a match. That's the 6 months sets the tone, gives you the foundation you need. And then we decide, okay, what does it look like from here in terms of pace of change and the timeline that you're on? Right?
Yeah, no, it was a fantastic program. I really, really enjoyed it, and how you just managed to just keep us on track, because I would come in sometimes super upset, and then other times would be like, yep, I'm ready to work on this, but yeah, you definitely were able to keep me in line.
Yeah, and I think that's the entrepreneurial journey, right? Which is, again, why I love these 2-hour meetings, because in that, I never know what's coming in to our meeting. I never know what you're bringing with you, right? You might have fears and doubts. You might have challenges. You might have things that happen that turned your life upside down. You might have had amazing successes and you're ready to you've got a fire in your belly and you're ready to move. And I never know. And that's part of the journey. And so that first part of every meeting is just allowing what is to be, right? Let's work through what is. And then from there, we can move into, let's keep moving forward. And, right, allow what is, and address that. It's not an either or in my mind. right? Because if your meetings are shorter, this is what I've found anyway. If the meetings are shorter, what happens is you can either only address the agenda of the intended result that we have agreed to, or we can focus on what's important to you in that moment. And I'm not an either or in that way. I'm very much in let's address it. And also, as an entrepreneur, let's keep moving forward, because that's how we progress, right? So
my sessions of 2 hours was perfect.
great.
I probably would think that if it was beyond that, it would be a little bit too much for me. But 2 hours is actually really comfortable.
Yeah, that's usually what I say. We do 2 hours. And, sometimes I can see energy has shifted. And sometimes it's like, you know what, I think we're done today. We don't need to be doing 2 hours, because if you're exhausted, maybe you're done with me and my intensity. You've got what you need in the first 30 minutes, and that's just fine. We'll pick up where we left off next time. And that's how I like to work. I like to say, this is the objective of our work together. This is what we're going to do. And, the journey is dynamic.
Well, I loved interviewing you this time because I was always being the one interviewed at your sessions.
That's right. Yeah.
Do you have time for 10 rapid fire questions?
Oh, jeepers. Okay. Shoot.
Okay,
I'm absolutely
let's make
game.
it fun. Yeah. If you can trade lives with anyone for a day, who would it be?
Oprah. I just love her. I think her life is super interesting, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall in her life, for sure.
What did you learn most about yourself in the last 12 months?
I love teaching and presenting content. I just love it. That has been a surprise. I kind of knew, but it's been really reinforced over the last 12 months. I've been doing a ton of presentations to audiences of different sizes, sharing my frameworks on differentiation and helping people better understand just the fundamentals of differentiation. And oh my gosh, I'm having fun. I didn't expect that the virtual world would be as much fun as it is for me.
Right.
It's so that's been I've loved that too. So I've been surprised by that.
Yeah. Well, do you think it'll stay like that? Like there's going to be no more kind of face-to-face meetings because it's not necessary?
I think it will depend on when we come out of this and what that looks like. For the foreseeable future, we are absolutely moving over to a permanent remote offer. But I suspect there will probably be, because I'm not an either or person, as I like to say, I think there will probably be an and. But certainly the design will be somewhat different from what it was pre-pandemic.
Where is the first place you will visit after the travel restrictions are lifted?
Quebec City.
Oh, because I know why, but
well, my family. My mother was French Canadian. I was born and raised in English Canada because my father was an Anglophone. But my French family is huge, and I haven't been back for far too long. And I have a cousin back there. I have a few cousins that I just love, and I just miss them. I just want to go back and connect with my family there.
What book are you currently reading?
Ooh, good question. I am reading Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, which was recommended to me. It was actually not on my radar at all, but we have this very informal little book club with a couple of other coaches, and one of them suggested that we pick this one up. So agreed to do that, and I'm just into it. Absolutely loving it. He is such a character and such a philosopher, and his background was so interesting. So I'm getting a kick out of that. I'm also reading a book called Straight Talk, Simple Numbers, I think it is. And it's about the financials in your business and better understanding how to create a profitable business. So that's
okay. Two very good books refresher. I pick up. Nice. What's your favorite place in this entire world?
It doesn't really matter as long as I'm with my family, to be honest. I'm thinking about these places, and every time I love some place, I'm with my kids and my husband.
There you go.
But it more than likely has sunshine and warmth. I love adventure and change, so I don't know that there's any one place that, even if I loved a place completely, I probably wouldn't be in a big rush to go back. I'd probably want to go somewhere different.
If a movie was made of your life, who would play you? Who would you want to play you?
Who would I want to play me? Meryl Streep.
Ooh, like that. What's the best advice you've ever received?
Just do it. Stop thinking.
That's great advice. The word pivot, who or what was your biggest teacher?
My Grammy. My father's mom. She lived until she was 94. She always had a twinkle in her eye. Always. She was so happy and optimistic. And my Grammy was so cute. She was, if you imagine Mrs. Claus, that was my Grammy. She was like 5'2", white, curly, super tight curly hair, the rosiest pink cheeks you can imagine, with wrinkle lines that were not wrinkle lines because they were just so full of laughter and smiles. Like, she was just she died at 94 with all her wits about her, and just so lovely. And the reason I say she was my biggest teacher is because I'm quite intense, as I've mentioned earlier. And my Grammy had such a great balance. And I often refer back to her wisdom. I remember one Christmas, my kids were young, and we tended to be the home that hosted both families because I wanted, we wanted to bring everybody together, and it just seemed easiest and best if we did it. And so we always had lots going on, and I always liked, big festive Christmases and all this kind of thing. And one Christmas, I said to my Grammy, I always said this to her, I was like, man, you are going to outlive me, right? Because she was so healthy and so just had a great mindset. And one day she said to me, this Christmas day particularly, she said, well, Michelle, I didn't entertain too much. And the irony in all of that, I had a good giggle about it because I was a little frenetic that day. It was a little hectic. And the irony of it all is, when my grandparents got married, as a wedding gift, my grandfather had bought her a beautiful set of china, which was quite common back in the early 1900s, And when she died, 70 years later, her set of china had never been used because she didn't like to entertain. It was too stressful. So we never went to her house for dinner, ever. Because she brought it to us, right? She brought dinner to us. She brought us a big pot of stew because that was her thing. She could make an amazing stew. It was a killer stew. And she brought stew to us. And that was great. But she didn't entertain. I don't like entertaining. It's too stressful. And so she never did anything she didn't want to do, ever, for anybody, for anything. And she had a good, long life. And she had lots of friends. And she was very happy.
And finally, where can our listeners find you?
Best place, it would be through our website. I am most active, if we're looking for social, if you will, most active on LinkedIn. That is absolutely the best place to find me. The other channels, I would say, are not as active.
You have very good YouTube videos. I think we should talk about that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Thank you. So we have a lot of YouTube videos with both hints on tips on differentiation and different strategies on resilience and vision. And we have a number of different. So you can find us on YouTube as well. Under Transformation Catalyst, we have a channel. Our website is transformationcatalyst.ca. And on LinkedIn, just Michèle Soregaroli. So, or M Soregaroli, I believe, is my my tag. Yeah.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Michèle. It was so nice to catch up. And I think I'm going to need another year of sessions. So I'll be in contact very, 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 very soon.
Oh, Jenny, just such a delight. And honestly, it is just such an honor to be here. And I know that this idea had been in the works for a while, and to see you constantly step into your courage and take the next step to become that, better self and lean into your better future. You are really an inspiration, and it's just an absolute honor to be here and a privilege. So thank you.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much for taking the time. I know you have a busy schedule. So
And likewise, thanks for today.
thank you.